Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, Mr. Miller. It's nice to meet you.
Yes.
It is a
Hey
pleasure to
there.
meet you as well. Thank you guys for everything, and it's been wonderful working with you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
And it's Philip. It's Philip. Mr.
Okay.
Miller was my dad.
All right. We're good then, Philip. It's Nikki to me too.
Right.
Hello, my sister Cheryl. How you doing?
Hello, my sister Bonnie. How are you?
Hi, baby.
Thanks for being with us.
You know I couldn't have it any other way.
Welcome to Cheryl's family.
Mhm.
We're excited to have you here to celebrate, and friends and students and faculty.
Welcome, Leslie.
It is so wonderful to be here tonight, and welcome, Cheryl.
Hi, President Ward. How are you?
Good, and it's Leslie, please.
Good evening.
Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Fine. How are you? Glad
Good.
to join you. Terry's going to join soon.
Okay, great.
Great.
Hi,
Hi.
Gary. I'm here.
Hello.
Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Philip.
Hello. How are you?
I'm
Philip.
excellent.
Hello. It's good to see you.
Good seeing you.
All right.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian Gauthier, for opening the ceremony this evening. That was wonderful to hear the bagpipes from Vermont. Just a brief note on etiquette for our Zoom audience. A gentle reminder to please mute your microphones and feel free to use the chat to extend your congratulations and well wishes to Cheryl. Hello and greetings, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nikki Ewan, the co-chair of the MFA in Graphic Design at Vermont College of Fine Arts. The graphic design program is honored to welcome you to the VCFA Zoom portal, honoring the incomparable Cheryl D. Holmes Miller. Now I'm going to ask everybody to please briefly unmute, and we'll offer our first applause to the honoree this evening.
All right.
So novel.
Thanks, everyone. So we begin this evening's event by acknowledging the ancestral, traditional, and unceded Aboriginal territories of the Abenaki, on whose territory our college stands. As we gather remotely, we encourage and invite each of you, as stewards of and friends of the program, to commit to reconciling and partnering with Indigenous peoples from whose lands and waters you benefit today. In making this land acknowledgement, we remember not to be bound by the past, but instead move towards honoring and recognizing the generative earth and the histories of all her living beings.
Hello and welcome. I'm Serena Rotenberger, co-chair of the Graphic Design program at VCFA. On behalf of the Graphic Design faculty and the program, we welcome our students, alumni, family members and friends, and our beloved college staff. We'd like to warmly welcome VCFA President Leslie Ward and our academic dean, Matthew Monk. Hello and thank you to distinguished guests and colleagues joining us on the live stream. We extend a gracious welcome to the VCFA Board of Trustees, who voted unanimously to award Cheryl D. Miller the Honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters. For half a century, Miller has tirelessly created lasting relationships, mentorships, and communities that amplify the voices, practices, and lived experiences of the designers she has worked alongside.
In that vein, Cheryl connected us recently with Trey Seals. Trey is a designer and typographer based in Washington, D.C. Seals is the founder of Vocal Type, a type foundry where the design of typefaces highlights histories from underrepresented races, ethnicities, or genders. We'd like to read an excerpt of his writing as an introduction to this ceremonious event. And I quote, "The story of Vocal begins in June of 2016. I was crafting another identity, searching for inspiration online, and I just became really bored. Everything I saw, no matter how beautiful, it all just looked the same. You could argue that it's because our obsession with grids and perfection, but the truth is there was no culture, no character, only monotony and stereotypes. While design is my passion, I started wondering if I had picked the wrong career. Then one day, not soon after, I came across a record of the demographics of the graphic design industry. And when I discovered that only 3 to 3.5% of all practicing designers in America are Black, I understood why everything looked the same. Maybe a week after these realizations occurred, I received an issue of print magazine in the mail with an article titled Black Designers Still Missing in Action by Cheryl D. Holmes Miller. The premise of this article is partially the lack of diversity in the design industry, but the message is a call to action for the next generation of Black designers to step up. So I did." End quote.
This October, the graphic design program at VCFA turns 10 years old. And as we watch our sister institutions grapple with inclusion and representation in their faculty, leadership, and curricula, we are proud that the VCFA graphic design program was built by intentionally recognizing and amplifying underrepresented practices and practitioners, supporting diverse scholarship and research topics, and actively recognizing the omissions that have marginalized the voices and cultures that have always been part of our discipline. We name our faculty as the nominating body that put forth the nomination of Cheryl D. Miller for this award. Lorena Howard Sheridan, Matthew Monk, David Schutz, Silas Monroe, Yoon-Soo Lee, Natalia Ilin, Ziggy Mzangi, Tashika Arsenault Sutton, Ian Lynham, and Dave Peacock.
The string of academic pearls that brings Cheryl to this well-earned moment on our virtual campus at VCFA includes her own studies at Rhode Island School of Design, Maryland Institute College of Art, Pratt Institute, and Union Theological Seminary. But it doesn't end there. Miller is currently serving as Distinguished Senior Lecturer at the University of Texas at Austin School of Design and Creative Technologies, and as Distinguished Scholar in Virtual Residence at Roger Williams University. Yay, go Hawks. At both institutions, she's teaching Black and Indigenous design histories through a synoptic lens. She's also advancing her scholarship through invitations to teach at Lesley University and Howard University. In addition to Cheryl Miller's academic achievements, she also established one of the first Black woman-owned design firms in New York City in 1984. Shortly, our faculty member, Tashika Arsenault Sutton, will speak to the influence of Miller's groundbreaking studio career.
Whoever has had the chance to meet Cheryl in person knows this woman is like a better and by far more charismatic version of Siri. You can ask her all kinds of questions and we'll get really good answers. One particular thing she said when we met for the first time stuck with us. "I'm old enough to have lived it all, but I'm still young enough to remember it all. We speak for our whole faculty when we say we couldn't have imagined anyone better to receive the inaugural honorary degree from the MFA in graphic design at Vermont College of Fine Art.
Miller's distinguished career in service of respectful and responsible design practices during the past 50 years is truly a profound and enduring contribution to the scholarship and culture of the design disciplines. We're grateful that Cheryl has wielded her endless energy in paving the way for the future. She already has and will keep on being a huge source of inspiration and guidance for generations of upcoming designers.
But in Cheryl's words again, and I quote, "Don't thank me, I'm gonna go to work now." We now invite our dear colleague, Tashika Arsenault-Sutton, to our virtual stage. Tashika's scholarship and research to amplify the voices of Black women designers brought Cheryl to us in the first place. Tashika.
Hi, thank you. And congratulations again to Cheryl.
Thank you.
So I first met Cheryl back in June. And this was when she was contacting other Black designers to be a part of the Cheryl D. Miller collection at Stanford University. So Stanford University contacted her and they asked her to basically donate her work and scholarship for the past 50 years. But like Cheryl, she did not want this collection to be just about her work. And so she invited 30 to 40, I think we're at 40 now, other designers to be a part of this project. So she was meeting with each individual person to talk about the project and about their work. And so that's when, and I believe that first time we talked for probably well over an hour. And we continue to have conversations from June until now. So when the co-chairs, the fabulous co-chairs, asked me to speak on behalf of Cheryl and her work, I was honored. And for a second, I thought, oh, okay, this is easy because I've talked about her before when doing lectures and presentations about Black women in design. But when I read over the notes and things that I have talked about previously, it just didn't seem right. It didn't feel right. And so I decided that I wanted to write something that talked about her work and her journey, but I wanted it to be personal. So I wrote something and it's called, "I Just Want to Say Thank You." Thank you for embracing the isolation that was given to you by being multiracial, especially during a time when interracial marriage was unconstitutional. And thank you for embracing this isolation and expressing how that experience prepared you for the solitude that you experienced being a woman of color in the field of graphic design. Thank you for persevering, even after one of your high school teachers tried to block your admissions application to Rhode Island School of Design of Art, after she told you that you would never, ever become a successful artist. Thank you for challenging your professors and classmates at Maryland Institute of the Arts when they refused to give you a critique. Thank you for being clever and showing up for class 35 to 45 minutes early to hang your work so that you could get an honest and fair critique from your professor and peers without them even knowing it. Thank you for accepting the challenge that was put forth to you in graduate school at Pratt Institute of not making a simple graphic design thesis, but of writing a thesis that was a contribution to the field of graphic design. So I say thank you for being a writer. Thank you for your thesis, transcending the problems of the Black designer to success in the marketplace. That was eventually published in print magazine in 1987 under the title, Black Designers Missing in Action, that called out the graphic design profession for the lack of inclusions of Black people. Thank you for writing Black Opal, a daughter's apology to her Asian mother, and taking us on a personal journey of your family's history. Thank you for writing Graphic Designers Still Missing in Action in 2016 that passes the baton to the younger generation of graphic designers to find their way and create their own paths. Thank you for writing Black Designers Forward in Action in 2020 that highlights current Black professionals who are breaking down glass ceilings, glass doors, and glass walls. Thank you for being an educator. Thank you for being a senior lecturer at Lesley University, Texas, Austin, and teaching graphic design and educating students about the importance of decolonization of graphic design history. Thank you for being a graphic designer, assembling images together to create social impact in the corporate communication styles for the Black community. Thank you for using Broccoli chocolate Swiss grids to print Black ink on white paper to document the Black experience during the Civil Rights era. Thank you for being an entrepreneur and established one of the few female Black-owned design firms in the mid-1980s New York City, providing work for clients like BET and Fortune 500 companies like Chase and American Express. Thank you for being fearless, for not having imposter syndrome. Thank you for continuing to be a scholar and discovering and sharing the truth behind the printing industry in your essay, The History of Black Graphic Design. Thank you for tracing the roots of the very first Black designers and laying down the groundwork for a new canon. Thank you for sharing with us the harsh realities of slaves who worked tirelessly in the printing press, whom were forced to produce advertisement for runaway slaves. Thank you for being an activist, bold and outspoken. Thank you for saying this. Take down the Paul Rand look, I said. It's my Confederate flag, my Confederate status. The Helvetica flush left, rag right grid, bearing white space all around the page was the look of the oppressor. If you were as a Black designer back in the day and you wanted to be employed by one of the established elite studios, good luck with that. The Swiss grid and Helvetica were the white male's design gospel. The look screamed in my memory bank, you do not belong here. And if you can design like us, we don't want you. Every time I see the look, I feel the oppressor on my neck. Thank you again for saying that. Thank you for telling me about other great Black women in design, like Michelle T. Washington, who is a user-centered interaction designer, educator, and researcher who wrote your AIGA design journey biography that eloquently captured your graphic design career. And Dorothy Hayes, who organized the exhibition Black Artists in Graphic Communication in 1970 that profiled 49 young Black graphic designers. Thank you for always being in transition. Perhaps your keynote would share some light on that. Thank you for your determination, for not giving up on being a part of a profession that didn't want you to be a part of it. Thank you for being humble and confident. Thank you for sharing the stories about all those who came before you. Thank you for your tireless efforts at creating a path for those that came after you. Thank you for being a mentor to so many of us, especially to me. Thank you for allowing us to call you auntie. Thank you for being selfless with your time all the time. Whether it's showing up for one of my lectures, an email, a text, a phone call, I told y'all this was personal. Thank you for being a cherry fruit and a green gemstone. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to welcome Academic Dean Matthew Monk to the virtual stage.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Tashika, that was really beautiful and powerful. Thanks for sharing that. And Cheryl, congratulations on this
Thank you.
wonderful evening.
Thank you.
So I'm Matthew Monk. I'm the Academic Dean at VCFA and a founding faculty member in the Graphic Design program. And I can think of no more exciting reason for all of us to gather from across the country and around the world to celebrate this occasion. And I have the honor of presenting Cheryl for the degree. So, President Leslie Ward, on behalf of the Academic Affairs Committee of the Board of Trustees, it is my great honor to present Cheryl D. Miller for conferral of her honorary degree.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Matt. And it is such a pleasure, Cheryl, to have you here with us tonight and for this wonderful occasion. It is my immense pleasure on behalf of Vermont College of Fine Arts to have the opportunity to recognize the outstanding contributions Cheryl Miller has made in scholarship, art, design, mentorship, and teaching in the discipline of graphic design. Vermont College of Fine Arts states in its mission that we are a community of artists dedicated to the concept that the arts have the ability to not only reflect reality, but also to create it. It is clear to our community that Ms. Miller's work has embodied that message, having had a transformative influence in the service of challenging the status quo of the graphic design profession, as well as expanding the participation and impact of designers of color. We are thrilled to welcome her as a member of our community as we continue to learn and expand our understanding of the study and practice of graphic design through our continued relationship. So without further delay, and this is the point where if we were all together, I would ask people to stand. By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees and with the authority of the great state of Vermont, I confer upon Cheryl Miller the degree of Honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And now I'm pleased to present Dr. Cheryl Miller, who has prepared some comments for us.
Okay. First off, I want to thank everybody for sheltering in with us, being with us, and using this opportunity to gather in this novel way during uncertain times and so many uncertainties. What's sure is that we've come together as a community of scholars, family, and friends. And I thank you for taking the time to be with us. To the esteemed academia at Vermont, all of you, thank you. You have been so gracious and kind to me. Welcome to our home, my family. We're here in Connecticut. We will be in Vermont as soon as we can. And with that, I'm just honored, and I thank you. You know, I've been receiving so many congratulations from friends, and I really was so moved today. It's been a long time, this journey, you know, 2/3 of my life. It started when I was a kid. I have no other memory. And in addition to this, I received a beautiful letter from the president of Pratt Institute, which it wasn't so much that she congratulated me, but her words, she received me as alum. And just because you have a degree and just because you have a diploma on the wall and you've earned your bragging rights for the degree you own, doesn't mean that you're owned. It doesn't mean that you're claimed. And today, I feel wanted and accepted and respected and received, which has not always been the case. So a part of the ceremony today, the acknowledgement of the whole journey, and my graduate school reaching out to me with words of inclusion, which is much, much different than words of congratulations, is what it is that I want for all of my community. With that, I have a reflection, and I thank each and every one of you. You have no idea that this moment of inclusion and love toward my work and legacy, it's given to all of my tribe. It's given to all of us. And it gives me the greatest hope for the work that I have believed in since I was a young child. With that, I want to give us an opportunity to reflect on my words I have a thought for us tonight. Please receive my thanksgiving and thank you for everyone and my family, and especially my husband who has been with this journey since we were teens. Just thank you, just receive that. And I have a reflection for us tonight. And my thought for us is for Anthony, for Anthony. Just remember this is for Anthony. I have no other memory, thought, dream, or desire. My only prayer, Lord, I want to be an artist. Inspired by cadre of my parents' friends, Rita Sauls, my godmother was a painter. Ed Hubbard, my father's best friend, was a life events photographer. He and Addison Scurlock captured the Negro life in Washington, D.C. Mr. Mackey, Papa's fraternity friend, who was the high school art teacher at McKinley High Tech in Washington. And my neighbor, Nada Willette Page, the first African-American medical illustrator graduating from Johns Hopkins. These were all people who inspired me, along with the new modern technology of television, bringing me John Nagy and Mickey Mouse and cartoons, and the new technology of television, transitioning from listening to radio shows and then switching over to black and white TV. I became fascinated very, very early. I'm a Howard brat, Howard University brat. Kids who grew up on campus of Howard U employees and prominent Howard alum. I was raised on the campus. Afternoons waiting for mom to get a ride home from school, I sat in Howard's Fine Art Museum, watching exhibits go up and down, smelling the paint. Alma Thomas, Sam Gilliam, Jeff Donaldson in his move towards Afro-Cobra, hearing art collector tips, get a print, they'll be famous one day. DC public school trips to the museums, the National Gallery of Art, and across town on the other side of the park, where the white folks were prominent, the Corcoran Gallery of Art, the Hirshhorn, and then the Washington Colorfield School, Gene Davis, Kenneth Nolan, and their brand of lines, circles and squares and triangles. I knocked off a Picasso to win a Girl Scout award and landed on the section cover of the Washington Post and the Washington Star. What reference did I have but my father's World Book encyclopedias that he had given to the house? Book A for artists, book P for painting, and guess who else was in book P? Picasso. When in Barcelona, I saw the original painting I knocked off. Martin Luther King was assassinated, time to go to college. Invitation to Wellesley and invitation to RISD, which to apply, which way to go. English lit and writing, Wellesley, maybe to meet Hillary Clinton in my future, or art and design, painting, maybe RISD would meet my destiny. RISD I went off to and met with my first welcome. Half of you will not make it. I said, oh, welcome wagon. Half of you will not make it. And I'm like, far away from home. Unexpectedly, Papa died. And Micah Graphic Design took me in with a dream in my heart. I want to be an artist. I had to get back home, but I'm still going to art school. I had no idea the treacherous road and path I would face. Something so simple. I want to draw and paint. I want to make beautiful pictures. Can I make color look like light? Little did I know I would be running for my life. On so many occasions, rejection after rejection, dream deferred. I couldn't wake up from the dream. Wikipedia says my work, my graduate thesis, started a movement to research and to promote diverse designers. Not a moment, but a movement. Scholarship that has moved the needle in an attempt to change the Academy's heart, to receive, to accept, to embrace, to regard a more diverse community of artists, to respect us in the canon and the story of art and design in North America. But I've been running for my life, my cause, my purpose, my advocacy since I was a little girl. I was just a Black little girl of many colors, many ethnicities, many cultures, to discover I was more than an artist, but an activist. Running to free myself from oppression, prejudice, discrimination, white supremacy, institutional racism, and systemic racist practices that sought to thwart my every attempt to just draw and paint beautiful visions. With a machete in one hand and a T-square in the other, I cut pathways for myself first so I could run the race away from my mid-century oppressors. My prayer expanded. I wanted to be an artist, and then I began to pray, Lord, give me a chance. Well, no chance came that I didn't have to make myself. I'm going to give you my most recent thought and prayer. I have prayed that the very same prayer for 50 years. I have prayed 50 years until about October 2020, when my 4-part series for print was just published. I stopped asking the good Lord, I want a chance. I started praying, I want a change. I want to see the change. I love footnotes and scholarship. I went all around the archives, back to Africa, Du Bois' sociological research and data on the Negro artisan, vintage books, the other slaves. Something deep from my heritage told me the first Black graphic designer was the African, with his images, his culture, his techniques, who had traveled through the transatlantic slave trade to Providence, to Virginia, to ports of entry along the Northeast corridor. The African was sold. I knew the slave artist was the woodcut artisan of runaway slave ads, hours of research to prove to all and to answer my 50-year question, where are the Black designers? And then I found Anthony. I stopped praying, give me a chance. I want a change. I finally understood what happened to everyone. Why missing? Footnote after footnote, proof upon proof. I found Anthony. He too was running away from oppression and hatred, a vintage document, the history of advertising found in the Gutenberg ebook project. And there he was, my favorite footnote. My footnote, runaway slave ad, a runaway slave ad. Everyone is looking for Anthony. A $25 reward. Ran away from Raleigh. Let me just show them to you. It's a runaway slave ad. Run away from Raleigh a month or two ago, a mulatto man named Anthony, well known in Raleigh, many parts of the state, as having been for several years the body servant of General Jones, and mine lately as a pressman and a news carrier in the Star office. Anthony is about 25, 26 years of age, 5 feet 8, 10 inches high, is mongrel white, has a tolerably large aquiline nose, bushy hair, a scar on one of his cheeks, when in good humor, has a pleasing countenance. The ad continues to describe Anthony. He is an excellent pressman, indifferent at distributing types. He's a typographer. Then all the way down at the bottom, he's an artful fellow, and then possibly showed a forged past. $25 reward. We're looking for Anthony. The runaway slave ad, it reads, And with some critical thinking, there we find he's from Raleigh. They're looking for him February 1918. He's a mulatto. He's mongrel white, not black, fair skin. He has a tolerably large aquiline nose, bushy hair, and a scar on his cheek. BIPOC, he's mixed race. He's white, mongrel white light, he's white. He's Native American, and I contend probably from a North Carolina tribe. Why? The aquiline nose. It's a hook nose, a Roman nose, an eagle-like nose, a cultural marker. And he's Black. He's got bushy hair. And he could forge his pass. He probably had a side hustle, making passes and selling them. He was a graphic designer. W.E.B. Du Bois confirms Anthony as a slave-type pressman. He tells me the likes and the nature of the slave artisan. He studies the slave artisan. And my favorite quote in his work, The Negro Artisan. In early American newspapers, we occasionally find specific references to a slave's talent for graphic expression and even definite affirmation of his skill as a finished artisan. The Negro Artisan, edited by W.E.B. Du Bois. I love footnotes. Daily, I'm on the hunt for footnotes. The most high regard for footnotes, no fake news. With proof with footnotes, you can build your scholarship. Also good statistic and data. All these move the needle of advocacy and mission. I use the intellect. I stopped praying. Lord, give me a chance. I found my hidden, where are you, Black graphic designer? I found what was done to him. What happened? Why are we missing? Why is everybody looking? What was done to the slave artisan to kill his voice? I found a vintage book. I found this quote: the fear of Negro competition among certain groups of white workmen in the North was so great as to lead them to oppose emancipation. In Pennsylvania, race prejudice ran so high that the legislature was urged in 1860, on the very eve of the Civil War, to reenact the laws of permitting Negro slavery. I stopped praying. I found the reason. My favorite footnote tells me what was done to the slave artisan to kill his voice, what was done to Anthony, and what has been trying to silence and keep me quiet. At the point of emancipation, the end of the Civil War, hatred and fear for Negro competition has set the Negro artisan running into an abyss of my advocacy. Footnote after footnote, my life's work. Irony has a funny way of laughing at us. All of my research, years of scholarship, digging up footnotes to prove the first Black graphic designer was the slave artisan, anonymity stolen, silenced. And there he was in clear view. In that something says voice, you know, we all have that something says. I listened to that something says. It says, Cheryl, you are from DC, girl. How many times have you been to Mount Vernon? How many times have you been to Luray Caverns? And of course, How many times have you been to Williamsburg? Well, I went to YouTube University, and there it was in clear view. On the Williamsburg Museum website, the tour guide from the Williamsburg print shop was my scholar, gives us the tour and invitation to visit, and clearly explains the slave artisan as pressman, making his own runaway slave ads, brochures, posters, ephemeral. The tour guide, Williamsburg print shop, soliciting on his website to visit the print shop. Come and learn the story of the first slave Black pressman, woodcutter, typesetter, making his own runaway slave ads. Who knew? Years of looking and researching all the time on the Williamsburg Come Visit Us website. The history of the Black designer. Now my prayer, Lord, can things change now for Anthony, for me, for my friends, for our future. It's an honor to openly receive this award. It wasn't always possible. My footnote of Edward Mitchell Bannister, pastoral landscape painter, in 1876, his painting Under the Oaks reached the Philadelphia Centennial Exposition. It won a first prize medal for painting, garnering national attention for Bannister's work. His reception by the awards committee has been described many times. George Whitaker paraphrased Bannister's own recounting of the moment. I learned from the newspapers that 54 had received a first prize medal. I hurried to the committee, hearing in a most petulant manner, "What is that colored person in here for?" Finally, when I succeeded in reaching the desk where inquiries were made, I endeavored to gain the attention of the official in charge. He was insolent. Without raising his eyes, he demanded in the most exasperating tone of voice, "Well, what are you doing here anyway? Speak lively. I want to inquire concerning number 54. Is it a prize winner?" "What's that to you?" he said. In an instant, my blood was up. The looks that passed between him and others in the room were unmistakable. I was not an artist to them, simply an inquisitive colored man. Controlling myself, I said desperately, "I am interested in the report that Under the Oaks has received a prize. I painted the picture." An explosion could not have made a more marked impression. Without hesitation, he apologized. And soon, everyone in the room was bowing and scraping to me. As noted earlier, Bannister had neither racism nor sentimental sympathy to affect the judge's decision. It was for the reason that he submitted the work with only a signature attached. The demand for Bannister's work grew after his award at the Philadelphia Centennial Exposition. By 1878, he was one of the original board members of the newly established Rhode Island School of Design. In the same year, Bannister, George Whitaker, and Charles Walter Stetson formed what was to become the Providence Art Club in order to create opportunities for exhibiting Providence artists to bring together artists, art lovers, and patrons. Their first meeting of 12 artists was held in Bannister's studio. And by 1880, the club, grown in numbers and influence, was granted a charter. The art club was central to the development of Providence's art community, with spring and autumn annual exhibitions, lectures on art, and social events for patrons and artists. Bannister often served on the executive committee as well as being a regular exhibitor. Well, my footnote, Edward Mitchell Bannister Whitney Museum of American Art at Champion. Champion Paper used to be headquartered in my town, Stamford, Connecticut. The exhibit, Stamford, Connecticut, 1992. Juanita Marie Holland, curator, author, exhibition book. I am not the first Black female artist to receive an honorary doctorate from an acclaimed art institution. I believe, though, I might be one of few that could openly pick up one, even in the midst of a pandemic. Lois Malu Jones, graduate Designers Art School of Boston. When rejected for a teaching position after her graduation, she was told to go south. Go south. We don't want you in Boston. Go south and help your people. That she did. 47 years professor at Howard University. In 1941, anonymously, Jones entered her painting Indian Shop's Gay Head, Massachusetts, into the Corcoran Gallery's annual competition. At the time, the Corcoran Gallery prohibited African-American artists from entering their works themselves. Joan had a colleague, she had an ally, she had a white ally friend, Celine Marie Tavery. She met a longtime colleague and friend she met in Paris in 1937. Celine entered the painting for Lois. Lois ended up winning the Robert Woods Bliss Award for this work of art, yet she could not pick up the award. Celine had to pick it up and mail it to her. In spite of the issues, Joan worked harder, notwithstanding the racial biases found throughout the country at the time. In 1994, the Corcoran Gallery of Art gave a public apology to Jones at the opening of the exhibition, The World of Lois Mailou Jones, 50 years after Jones hid her identity. On Jones's birthday, 89th birthday, the Corcoran threw her party, at which they issued an apology prior to racist policies. 2 years later, they granted her an honorary doctorate in fine arts. In grateful recognition of your talent, your lifetime contribution to the arts, and your perseverance in breaking down that which separates us one from another. David C. Levy, Corcoran Gallery of Art Director. Union Theological became my client. I became intrigued with theology, and I became intrigued with the seminary. I entered grad school again. I would master footnotes and learn scholarship at its highest regard. It's the place where I learned theologies, liberation theology, Cornel West, James Cohen, womanist theology, Dolores William. Katie Cannon taught me white women know Christ, but Lord of mercy, Black women love their Jesus. I remember I asked the professor in systematic theology, what is systematic theology? He looked over, he answered me. He says, when the shoe doesn't fit anymore, change it. It's the place where I learned to demand justice, to set captives free, to stand up for Anthony, the runaway slave, and where God stood up for me when my art adversaries tried to put me down. Artist becomes activist. I want to leave you with 3 quotes. 2 are mine and 1 I live by. I'm often told from the time I was a child, I've always been graced and blessed with awards. Cheryl, you're so gifted. You're so talented. You're so gifted. From the time I was tiny, my reply, I was given a gift. A gift of God is easy. What you do with the gift is what is difficult. When given a gift from God, your gift is what and how you give it back to God. To live your life is your story. To live your life for others is your legacy. Leave a legacy. All of my writings, everything that I print, I have published. They all end the same way of encouragement to my community. Booker T. Washington, Up from Slavery. I have learned that success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he or she has overcome while trying to succeed. Looked at from this standpoint, I almost reached the conclusion that often the Negro boy, girl's birth and connection with an unpopular race is an advantage, so far as real life is concerned. With few exceptions, the Negro youth must work harder and must perform his or her task even better than a white youth in order to assure recognition. But out of the hard and unusual struggle through which he or she is compelled to pass, he or she gets a confidence that one misses, whose pathway is comparatively smooth by reason of birth and race. Up from Slavery, Booker T. Washington. Cheryl, run faster than the succeeding white boy and white privilege. Run faster and run for your life. Since I was a kid. For Anthony, can we answer my new prayer? Lord, can we change together? Can we stop running around in circles, the same rodeo? Can we stop and walk? Can we work at this together? Not for my past, not for my present, but for the future of us all. It's time. It's time for Anthony. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for allowing this time and this space. We didn't have to go in this manner. We could have waited till the pandemic was over. But this was a right now moment. And I can only tell you that I believe now more than ever before. And like the gospel song from the church says, I ain't no way tired. I ain't no ways tired. I'm just beginning. Please take my hand, and for Anthony, let's walk into this and get this done. God bless you, God keep you. And that's all I have to say. Leave the legacy with me. Thank you so much. And here we are. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Thank you for picking up the machete and the deep square. Thank you for your patience in dealing with all of the obstacles and your immeasurable generosity with the profession. We thank you for the many movements that you just described that became the many moments that you just described that really became a movement. I am honored to know you. Congratulations, Dr. Holmes Miller. We are wearing our pearls for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just can't thank you enough. And it's just, you know, I know it's hard to believe, but I've been working on this since I was a kid. And my friends and family who've been with me, I have many that are here that have been with me the whole way. They are all eyewitnesses. Even my brother, recently, I saw him a couple of weeks ago and he said, Cheryl, I never said anything to you. He says, you should have given up on this a long time ago. And my father, he just said, Cheryl, make sure you know your academics, have a plan B. And if you're gonna do it, sweetheart, be the best. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I took his words to heart.
I guess you got it done. Oh, well, thank you. I want to ask everyone to briefly unmute again on the Zoom with us and offer a round of applause. Unmute your microphones. Thank you.
There's a mark.
Thank you. So thank you, Tashika. Thank you to Matt. Thank you to Leslie. Thank you to our faculty and program staff and the whole VCFA community for joining us and supporting this. Thank you for coming, everyone in the live cast. Thank you for friends and family. We wish you health and we wish you peace.